Hey, friend, welcome home to the Naked and Truth podcast. In a world where it's hard to find the truth, we promise to keep it raw, real, and relatable. This is not your average fitness podcast. We're a community of people that choose to do it different. Naked and Truth is designed for you to own your potential, to live your life with intention, to expand your mindset, and find a community that empowers you to become the highest version of yourself. Each week, you're going to unlock a new understanding of how you can make your impact. You're not meant to be average. You're meant to own your potential. Here comes another raw, real, and relatable episode. It's time to grow. Welcome back to your favorite fitness podcast, the Naked and Truth podcast. It is your host, Sari D, and I am back today with a very special guest that you guys have heard before. I am here with Brie Koleva, the fellow wellness competitor and personal trainer from New York. Do you want to say hey to our listeners today, Brie?
Hello, everybody. Such a pleasure having me on board, I guess. Again, is that a way to say it? It's been a long day over here. Either way, so happy to be on this podcast again and chat a little bit about something fun.
That's exactly it. It is a passion that we both love, which is bodybuilding. And we're going to dive deep to give you some value into some red flags and green flags to look out for bodybuilding coaches. Now, both of us have had bodybuilding coaches. I'm currently coaching myself right now. Bree, do you want to explain where you're currently at with your journey?
I am currently coaching myself as well. I'm kind of like taking a break in between coaches and browsing to see if there's anybody I would like to work with in the future.
That is me too. So there's somebody that I'm currently looking at, but I'm keeping it under wraps for right now. See where the next couple of weeks takes me, but you guys might be hearing an announcement soon. So
Oh,
it's been a good journey on my own, but both of us are very big believers in making sure that you do have a coach in your corner. And I think that, there's going to be experiences where the coach was not the right fit for you. And both of us have experienced that before where, we weren't getting the detail that we needed to be the type of competitor that we wanted to be. And the truth is that no matter whether it's a bodybuilding coaching relationship, lifestyle coaching relationship, that trust needs to be there. And so that's where we want to start talking about some of these red flags that you need to look out for when you're looking to hire a bodybuilding coach so that you save yourself from, losing that investment, getting discouraged in yourself, wasting time, which we know is something that we're never going to get back, and making sure that somebody is in your corner, allowing for you to grow into the person that you want to be, because that's what a coach should be. They should be there to tell you the good, they should be there to tell you the bad, and that's what builds the trust, is because you know that they're not just there to blow smoke up your ass, that they understand who you are, what your challenges are. So, Brie, I'd love for you to get into one of the first red flags that you see with bodybuilding coaches.
so I would say speaking not just from my personal experience, but sometimes from chatting with other bodybuilding competitors,
Mm-hmm.
that the first red flag for me would be the lack of attention to an individual's lifestyle and understanding where they are currently as they are diving into their bodybuilding journey. Be that somebody who is an experienced bodybuilding athlete or somebody who is just doing it for the first time. It's extremely important that somebody takes the time as a coach to understand where are you? What does your lifestyle look like? For me, for
Mm-hmm.
example, as a personal trainer, both online and in person, I do have a very physically hectic and demanding job. So I feel like I've only had one coach be understanding of my activity levels throughout the day, and everybody else was just kind of like, well, you just should be doing this, you should be doing that. Like I've had a coach in the past that I told, hey, I'm racking up 30,000 steps a day,
Day.
just doing what I need to do. And my feet hurt, and I feel like I'm retaining a lot of water weight, and I'm just genuinely suffering. And as much as bodybuilding journeys are meant to make you suffer to a certain
Mm-hmm.
extent. I feel like a coach should have listened to me and be like, you know what, you don't need to go for an incline treadmill walk, for example. You
100%.
can sit on the bike, you
Yes.
can bike. But me communicating that and asking for help was met with, well, you just gotta suck it up and continue going. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that can discourage so many people, and it definitely discouraged me for a while, and I felt like something was wrong with me because I
Yeah.
wasn't able to with these crazy intense days. But that goes the same way for like nutrition. I have, for example, a fellow wellness friend who was asked to eat 8 meals a day, considering that she works in a hospital, and whenever she has an ER shift, it's nearly impossible for her
Possible.
to pop out of the ER and eat those meals.
Yeah.
And her coach just didn't even adjust her plan when she was 2 weeks out. So it's the lack of attention to what's happening in your life. How does your day look like? Is it always fairly the same? Is it different? And just understanding, do you have kids? What is your job? Do you like going on walks? Are you sedentary? Do you have a dog and stuff like that? All of these things are very important. And if a coach doesn't put in the time and ask the question, not via phone or video, they need to write that shit down, especially
Mm-hmm.
if they have a lot of clients, you know they're not going to be paying attention to you.
I think that that is a really, really good point. And, if the coach is not able to understand the metabolic adaptation that could be happening from the client's current energy output, it's going to be really hard for them to be able to see sustainable success continuing on. And when we're looking at things of, as you said, like a seasoned competitor or somebody who's just stepping on stage as a personal goal that they want to achieve, what their prep is going to look like and their improvement season is going to be completely different because everybody has different demands that they have with their lifestyle. And there's also some things that some people aren't willing to sacrifice in their bodybuilding journey. And, one of my clients, the biggest one for her is time with her kids. So the biggest thing that we're doing is making sure that we're checking the boxes that we can, but there's also a lot that I'm not putting on her because in order for her to be able to be there for her kids, to work her job, to check the boxes for bodybuilding, I can't train her the same as what I would another client. There's things that I need to understand that, her stepping on stage, and I actually just explained this the other day, but her stepping on stage and somebody else taking a first place win, but they sacrificed all the time with their kid over the last like 90 days or more, and they took that first place. I asked her, would that girl actually be winning to you? Because your children matter so much to you. Like, does getting a third place sound like you're actually winning because you still got the time to be able to be there for your
Mm-hmm.
kids and the hours that you needed to, the flexibility that you needed to? And I think that we all have a different idea of what winning in life really looks like and what a good prep looks like. And that comes down to the coach really understanding the individual's why, the individual's real purpose in bodybuilding. And maybe that purpose in bodybuilding is being able to be the best competitor that they can be while still trying to
Mm-hmm.
be the best mom that they can be. Whereas, some other people, it's like they push their kids off to the other partner or whatever it is that they have, and they dedicate like laser focus, like this is the only thing that I care about from morning till night, right? And I think it's really important for you to understand so that the journey is enjoyable, because not everybody's stepping on stage to become an Olympian, right? And
Not everyone.
if you can still train really hard and have other priorities in your life, but if your coach doesn't understand of what that level of importance is, it's not going to be something that's enjoyable for you, and chances of you being able to step on the stage again is probably going to be slim to none, right? If it's
Yep.
not a good
Yep.
experience for you. And if your coach isn't understanding that lifestyle aspect, whether it's the programming side of that metabolic adaptation that I was talking about, making sure that they understand where your weaknesses have been in the past, so that if something comes up in prep, like maybe it's at a certain time of your cycle, you've always been known to binge on certain foods, or that's when your sweet tooth comes through. And for the last however many years you haven't given up chocolate during that time. So we know going into this that maybe that's a week that we really need to keep an eye on, that we know that we need to pull back a little bit on that energy output just to make it sustainable so that you're not falling into those old habits. But without that knowledge
Mm-hmm.
there, they're not going to be able to coach you with that type of understanding, right?
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So when we're looking at that as the red flag, what would you say
Mm-hmm.
people should be looking for as a green flag in that regard?
I would say great coaching green flag would be reaching out to a bodybuilding coach and them asking you to do an off season together.
Mm-hmm.
Why? An off season is a stress-free time in which your coach has all the possibilities to get to learn your habits, good or bad, to get to learn your lifestyle under many different situations, to also make sure that you do indeed carry enough muscle mass. I see
Mm-hmm.
too many people who think, what does it take? I'm just going to diet for like 8 weeks and then I'm going to step on stage. No, honey, it's not about getting lean. It's about, once we strip off the fat, do you have the shapes underneath?
Mm-hmm.
Because I need to make sure that you have enough muscle mass to be able to take you to the other side of this prep without completely ruining your health. So the biggest
Mm-hmm.
green flag would be making sure that your coach, when you reach out to them, wants to do an off season together. Even
Yeah.
if you're a seasoned athlete and that coach says, you know what, that's great. How about we do just 2 regular months together and then we can dive into prep. It doesn't need to be a year. It doesn't need to be anything crazy, but just let me understand a little more about how
About your
your body's
body.
functioning. Yes.
Absolutely. I think that that's such a really good point to make, especially for the fact that, you might have this, like, let's just say you're brand new to bodybuilding. You already have a show picked out in your mind. Now you're going and picking out the coach. Like, a good coach is going to be truthful to you and they're going to tell you that maybe that show isn't the right show for us to get started with. Or if it is, let's just see how you stand up on stage so that we can see where we need to come in that much stronger and for you to simply get the practice, for you to even see if it's something that you like. Prep itself is so different than hitting the stage, right? And some people think that they love one thing more than another, and the truth is that you got to love both, right? And
Mm-hmm.
obviously the improvement season too. But a coach being able to be trustworthy that way of saying, hey, we might need some extra time to be able to bring your best package. Or, hey, this is your first real season of bodybuilding. You haven't been training like a competitor for the last 10, 15, 20 years. It's going to take time for you to look like you are a true competitor, especially when we're looking on the natural side of things, because I think so many people see enhanced athletes and you see this like literally 8 to 10 week transformation. They go from, no real defined lines to all of a sudden just monsters. And they're thinking, like, well, I'm going to be able to do that. That's going to take some years to be able to put forth that density. And it's one of those things where we can't have a comparison game of, I want to look like this person. It's great to have inspiration, but I'm actually dropping a post on this today that a lot of the time, what we admire in other people are our weak spots. So, for example, I love sexy, strong legs, but it has taken me so long to get my legs to a point where I really wanted them to be. They don't look like anybody else's, but they're at a point now where I'm so proud of what they look like. But for the longest time, they were my weakest spot. There was lots of areas on them that I could use improvement. And so just make sure that when you're choosing this journey, that you can see a bigger picture than, hey, I want to look like this person when I hit the stage. And the right coach is going to communicate to you what that timeline is going to look like for hitting the stage, having some improvement slash off season time, really getting to know your body, right?
Yep. Correct. Indeed.
Beautiful. So with that, let's talk about what the second
Mm-hmm.
red flag is. What is one that you feel like you come across?
So second red flag would be poor or infrequent communication from the coach.
Mm,
Of course, from the competitor as well, but right now we're focused on,
right.
strictly speaking, coach perspective. So I would say a red flag would be you reaching out to your coach and them taking 4 to 5 days to respond to you. Now,
Mm,
I don't care if you are in off season or if you are off an improvement, however you want to call it, or if you're actively competing right now. Whenever you ask your coach anything, you should know that you can expect a response by, let's say, in an improvement season, I would say a day to two. Let's say it happens, somebody can reach out to you on a Saturday. For example, Saturday is my day off. If
mm-hmm,
they're not like preparing for anything in specific, I might respond on Sunday or
mm-hmm,
Monday. I feel like 24 to 48 hours communication when there's no time pressure or somebody is
mm-hmm,
starving or really immediately needs to know is more than okay. But when it comes to prep, you need to have a response by 4 to 6 hours.
mm-hmm.
I don't care. I don't care. There have been times where I've reached out to my coach and I need to know something for today. Hey, I ran out of tilapia. I have tuna. I'm short on time. I have an 8 hour day today. What can I do if I don't have the tilapia? Now, I need my coach to respond to me unless they've provided anything ahead of time, like a guide that can help me and I can use. So, for example, some coaches could provide you with like a swap of protein. So, let's say if you're not eating your 4 ounces of tilapia with rice, you can also do 3 ounces of this or whatever it is. If
Absolutely.
I have these tools available to me, I need you to respond to me. So whenever seeking a bodybuilding coach, it's truly important that a competitor, seasoned or future competitor, needs to ask such coach, hey, what is your communication time frame looking like in prep and also in the improvement season? Let's say I have an issue. When can I expect a response for you? When I'm preparing for a show and whenever I'm having my improvement season, what am I
Mm-hmm.
looking at here?
Well, and I think too, like when we're looking at the green flag side of it, that coach should be the one that's leading that communication, making sure right from when that client is signing on the agreement standpoint, that it's clear when that coach is going to be communicating. What we need to understand is that agreements are there not just for the person who's giving the agreement, but also the person who's receiving the agreement, because that agreement is the mutual bond between the two of you of what that person is asking from you, aka your coach, and what that coach is going to be giving you. Okay. So it defines expectations on both sides. So I think a green flag is having a coach make that clear from the very beginning of what their communication is going to look like. I also think that it's really important that when it comes to any type of check-in, that there is no delay on the check-in period. It doesn't matter if it's improvement season, doesn't matter if it's prep season. If your coach is not going to be able to do a check-in, they must communicate with you. And that is something that you would never see from Brie or I in regards to how we train our clients. We do not skip check-ins, even though it's in our agreements that we are not required to check in with our clients who are not checking in. We still check in with those clients too. Okay.
We
So,
sure do. What
you
have
know,
you been up to? I didn't hear from you last week.
100%. But what I think a lot of people don't understand, but some people do understand because they've been in that situation where they've hired a coach and it's just such a lack of communication. You never know when you're going to hear from them. I have heard horror stories of what some that you would expect to be very professional, very well known coaches are not great in regards to how they're communicating, in whether that's just the timeline or whether that's the detail. Like your coach should never do a check-in of saying, hey, how's it going? And that's the only level of check-in that
Yeah.
they're doing. If it's just your body stats and some photos and they're just saying, oh, looks good, how's everything going, and they're giving you no real detail there, that is a red fucking flag. Make sure you run, because there is no detail in that communication of where you are currently and really diving deep into what happened over that past week since your last check-in, because that's that time to self-assess, that time to reflect is so important, whether you are a competitor or a lifestyle client. we are so busy and we're always chopping off to get to that next goal that sometimes we forget of what that really looked like, and being able to assess it can allow for your coach to understand challenges that you may have gone through to make sure that you're still seeing the success in the coming weeks, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's truly important that there is detail in the communication as well, because just saying everything looks good, thumbs up, is not quite the reply you would like to hear at the check-in at any point. I feel like giving at least a little bit of detail, especially if you as a client have provided detail and you've mentioned things like, oh, I struggled with this, or I'm happy that I did that. Like, I feel like the coach should always acknowledge that and say, oh my God, I'm so sometimes I have clients who share with me their PRs in their check-ins, and I'm so happy that I deadlifted 110 kilos yesterday. Like, as a coach, you need to acknowledge that and be like, I am so proud of you. Good job. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. You should kind of see being a coach is almost being everyone's mom. You
Mm-hmm.
are a mom of some
Mm-hmm.
sort. So if a coach doesn't give you any sort of a feedback that makes you feel good, and as silly as this sound, even for me an experienced competitor, I love hearing back from my coach little positive things or negative, whatever it is. I'm
Yeah,
down to take the
100%.
constructive criticism, but just my coach saying like, hey, you totally smashed that workout, good job, or like, oh my God, your thighs are looking great. Just like these little comments mean that you care, mean that you were paying attention, and they make me feel 3 times better about smashing my goals next week.
Mm-hmm. And I want to remind you guys too that, your coach should be positive for you. They should be encouraging and being your biggest cheerleader, but they should also be giving that critique, because that's what's going to grow you. Your coach should not be agreeing with you 120% of the time. Like, that's the biggest thing. And you hired a coach to be able to get to that next level. So going on with that communication and that clear communication, that also means them not being afraid to tell you what you need to hear. Because if your coach is only telling you what you want, what you need to hear, but you're really not progressing in the way that you know that you should be, that is a big red flag in communication, because potentially they're scared to tell you the truth. Maybe they don't even know the real truth because maybe they're not as experienced, or they're simply not paying attention to you in the way that you should be paid attention to. So I think that that's a really important thing to note along with the communication too. Is there anything
Yeah,
else that you want to add
absolutely.
in there for communication?
Not for communication. I would say this was a great lead way into our last red flag for today's episode. And that will be copying and pasting plans. Because just
100%.
just to continue the conversation that you just started, a coach, for example, shouldn't feel afraid to tell you like, hey, listen, we need to step up the cardio. So maybe you're going into like an intense amount of cardio. You might need to step it up from 30 to 60 minutes a day, or you might need to go from 4 times a week to 6 times a week. Now, obviously, as a competitor, you're going to receive that as like, fuck, I don't want to do that. This is terrible. This person hates me. But the truth is that a coach could also try to compromise. Like, yes, you need to do cardio when you're on prep, but you could also ask your client to be like, okay, so do you prefer eating less food? Because there's no one way to skin a cat in
Mm-hmm.
bodybuilding and in just health and fitness in general. So a good coach wouldn't just copy and paste the plan that they gave to somebody else. They wouldn't tell you, hey, go and do 40 minutes on the Stairmaster when they know you don't have a Stairmaster at your gym or at home.
Mm-hmm.
They would actually listen to you, ask you what kind of cardio equipment you have available. But also, let's say you tell them, like, hey, listen, I can't do fasted cardio for a specific reason. They can tell you, okay, let's think about when can you do it? What is the best option for you? Rather
Mm-hmm.
than just giving you whatever cardio protocol somebody else had, or maybe telling you, listen, maybe we are not going to add the cardio, but I am going to need to shave off some calories off your plans. Are you okay with that? Which one do you prefer? So then you have the choice of, let me see and let me think. Do I want to eat less or do I want to move more? Like, either
Mm-hmm.
way, you have to sacrifice something, but the coach needs to make that clear and offer the options, and just in general, adjust the plan to what works for you. Not having 7 meals a day when your job doesn't allow you to have 7 meals a day. Maybe not doing a specific exercise because you have a muscle already fully developed and doing another exercise.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely different. Every competitor is different, even within the same division. Even if you have two wellness competitors, one is going to need different work compared to the other one. One might need more glute medius compared to the other one. You can't just throw the same plan at everybody. It could be a similar plan with minor tweaks. Now, I don't care if it is a similar plan, but for example, I have 5 sets of glute medius because I need to work more on my glute medius, but you have 3 sets. And on the contrary, maybe you have more sets of something else. Like it doesn't need to be completely always fully different, but it needs to be
100%.
customized at least to some extent and be like, hey, you need more sets of this because you need this, and this person needs less of this. Because let's face it, prep is also stressful for the coach and it's a lot of detail. You are paying them in general more money because it does require a lot more
A
attention and
lot
time
more
from them.
detail.
A lot more, a lot more. But even if somebody has an enormous team and they haven't hired somebody to help them, I feel like they could already help you understand by just adjusting the few sets. Hey, we have a little, like I said, a little more for you here and a little less for that person based on what their needs are.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
I just want to take a quick break from this episode to remind you that you don't have to feel stuck anymore. In a world where there's an overwhelm of information, it can feel impossible to know where to start your health and fitness journey. It's my life's mission to teach others how to own their potential and keep health simple. You're here for a reason, and even if you feel like you failed in the past, I want you to see success like hundreds of the clients who have joined Team Authentically Fit and have chosen to do it different. If you're ready to stop gaining all the weight back that you lose, you're tired of the fad diets that fail, and you're ready to make long-lasting changes that make health simple and allow for you to look so good you didn't realize it was possible, I want you to message me the words "do it different" right now on my Instagram at authentically.fit, where I promise to change your life and allow for you to keep your results for good. Again, you do not need to waste time feeling stuck any longer. Send me the words "do it different" to my Instagram at authentically.fit, and we will discuss a plan that is specifically made for you and your success. One that's going to allow for you to own your true potential. I can't wait to hear from you.
I think that you nailed it. And it really goes into the other things that we've talked about as well, too, because when things aren't being customized, there's going to be a lack of attention to what's going on in that client's lifestyle. There's going to be a lack of communication because they're obviously not communicating to get the right details to create that customized plan. And I think that the other part too is that, prep is one of those things where you really got to take it day by day, right? Like your coach will not be able to give you the game plan a week in advance if they are really paying attention to how your body's responding day by day, because depending on the different amount of stressors that you get hit with outside of your prep plan is going to depend on what that game plan is going to look like. You might need some extra recovery. You might need a full rest day where we're focusing on an early bedtime. Like you look at Bree with the amount of steps that she gets in a day. I love using step targets for people who do not get high amounts of step counts in, but there's only so many steps that a person can get in a day without you starting to risk injury. And that's what Bree's trying to explain early on in the episode of, like an incline walk is not going to be strategic for her when she's completing a day of 30,000 steps. Like that's not a smart way to get energy output. So, and especially for the fact of, her body is adapting to what she does as a daily stimulus, right? So what
Yeah.
she's lifting for weights to put on to the client's machines and things like that, the number of steps that she's getting in. And you need to be able to break through on that to still allow for her to see extra energy output. So whether you're bringing her down in food, whether it is that you're finding different ways to export the calories, but the truth is that you're not going to know what that's going to be unless you are customizing that, looking at the detail of communication and really seeing, because sometimes things change in life too. Maybe she's going to have a week where she has a lot less energy output because maybe everybody's on vacation that she's training. So maybe she's
Absolutely.
going from a point where she's 30,000 steps and now maybe she'd be about roughly 8,000 steps. Her
Mm-hmm.
being able to communicate that with her coach is what's going to allow for her coach to make the adjustments to still have things flow seamlessly for her, right? And so that
Yeah.
customization is so important, which comes in turn with that communication and that attention to detail on what that individual needs, because everybody's journey is authentic to them. It truly is.
It truly is. No prep is always going to be the same. Even as an experienced athlete, we already know it. Whoever is tuning in might not be aware of this, but when I did my first prep season, somebody experienced, and I wish I could remember because it was such a great advice that I want to thank them every day. I think about that. Somebody
Yeah.
told me that every single prep is going to feel different, but your first prep is going to be the most brutal and difficult one. And for many reasons, for me, my first prep was ridiculously brutal. It was so challenging. And if nobody told me that, honestly, I probably would have ended my bodybuilding career there and just
Mm-hmm.
continued doing whatever else makes me feel good in life.
Mm-hmm.
But having heard that from somebody who has a lot more years under their belt compared to me, it made me feel like, okay, so this is not a one-time occasion. There's nothing wrong with me. It's just a new journey and I'm unfamiliar with it. At the time, I didn't have a great coach at all. So many things went sideways as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to going straight. So that comment helped me a lot. And just knowing that, hey, one time it might be brutal, one time it might be a breeze, one time it might feel like it's okay, I'm just barely surviving, kind of makes you feel a little bit better as you're going about your seasons. And
Mm-hmm.
having that coach that listens to you, takes the time to develop a relationship with you, and
And
just
learn your
genuinely
body.
cares.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, learn your body and just care, because outside of being a competitor, you're also a human being with
Yeah.
emotions, with goals, with things you want to do with your family. Like a coach needs to also understand when they need to push on the pedal and kind of push you more, but also when they need to back
Pull
off. I'm
off.
really grateful that I've had coaches who have really pulled off right after a show and like allowed me those 3, 4 days of like, just live your life, whatever, eat some good food, enjoy some time outside of the gym
Totally.
and stuff like that. Like it gave me a few days to kind of like get it together, because you do come to a point frequently where you hate being on prep because
Mm-hmm.
you've done it, you're tired, and you just want to do something different and you kind of want to rebel against that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, coach needs to understand that, hey, I'm gonna step to the side for a brief moment, but then I'll come back, because I know that it's so easy to lose sight of your goals and get
Sorry.
it's
Scared me
okay.
so bad. I'm like,
It's
Sunny,
okay.
not today, not today.
Sunny, this is not the moment. That's
It's
why I
his
have.
birthday today, even.
Oh,
So
happy birthday,
thanks.
Sunny.
He turned 5. Come here, dude. It's okay. I know it's a
Oh.
tough moment. You must have heard something.
Oh, he must
Uh,
have heard something. That's why I have the boy in the other room, and I'm
I
actually
know.
taking my man's office.
Oh, nice. I love it. So, no,
Yes.
but you're completely right with everything that you're saying there. And I really, when it comes to understanding that your coach should teach you how to be a competitor, but also make sure that you understand that you're not just a competitor. There's like competing is not what solely defines your life. And when you get into a deep prep, all of a sudden bodybuilding becomes your whole life and you have a hard time identifying
Yes.
yourself and understanding who you really are, but there's so many facets to you that really do allow for you to be you, and you can be a bodybuilder but you can still be Brie. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with our career. Like, we are passionate about our careers, but we aren't just our career, right? And I think that
Exactly.
the right coach is going to teach you the balance and what that looks like in your life. Like you said, enjoying those 4 days off, making sure that they're preparing you for what that moment after show is going to be like. That, if this was easy, everybody would be a bodybuilder, but there's a reason why less than 1% of the population does it, right?
Absolutely. I don't even know what the percentage is, but definitely not a lot of people.
No, it's really not. And so, well, and the other part is too, the reason why the percentage is so low is it's one of the most expensive sports. So with the least amount of recognition and the least amount of
No money
payback that you're
prizes.
gonna exactly that you're gonna get back from it, it's really hard to make it as a bodybuilder that's actually paid for your profession. We do it out of the love of the sport, but it takes a very privileged person financially to be able to do something like this because it's thousands of dollars each season, right?
Each season, exactly. But for somebody who is dedicated to their health and fitness already, I feel like it's not such a huge step to take on. If you already have a coach and you're a lifestyle client and you're doing well and you're more and more in tune with your body, you have somebody that you've developed a relationship with, and they also maybe happen to be a bodybuilding coach like you are, like
Yeah.
I am as well. It's easy to say, like, you know what, I'm gonna try it for this one time because at least I've eliminated the issue of finding somebody reliable who knows me and my body to take me on this journey. So in that case, I always encourage people to give it a try for one time.
Yeah.
It's fun for one time. It's really fun. And then you might absolutely hate it and never do it again, but it's something you've done and you've accomplished. And it's
Exactly.
also going to change your physique in a way that nothing else will. I tell this to clients all the time. I know it's a humongous sacrifice, but you do it one time, your physique is going to change for the best with the right coach, of course, like you and I. It's gonna change for the best. And unless you completely let go right after the show, which hopefully you don't, because we would never allow that to a client unless they decide to stop working with us, which would make me so sad because I know that's when you need me the most.
Most.
Sadly, you can't force somebody to continue staying focused on their goals, so whatever. In that case, I just always highly encourage it. You know, it is an expensive sport, but if you kind of like space out the purchases, like one of my girls, I'm telling her, let's purchase your heels now, although we're competing next year, you know, you're still gonna need the heels, and they're also cute. You can wear them since they're clear. You can literally wear them with every other outfit you're wearing anyways. Let's purchase that posing suit or just use a bikini. Let's little by little start looking at other suits that we can, you know, just kind of like, let's pick up some makeup skills also. Maybe you don't want to invest the money into a makeup artist because you don't have that. Let's you know, let's take every single opportunity you're going out to do your makeup and see how you feel about that. You know, you're not again preparing for Olympia. You can save up some money and make the journey a little less expensive.
And the other part is too, is like Bree's saying, like invest in these things earlier. And where I would recommend is the last thing that you should be purchasing is your show registration and the membership for the alliance that you're in.
Yes.
Because the truth is that anything can happen. And as much as you have that projected show date, that's great, but shit can happen. And if you've already prepaid for this stuff, there is no refund. So that is one of the last things that you can actually end up purchasing, and spend your time in the earlier months being able to purchase the things that Brie mentioned, right? Like your shoes, or
Breaking down
working
the
on your
expenses.
exactly to make it more attainable. So I think that we've provided a lot of great value in this regard.
Absolutely.
You know, talking about bodybuilding coaches and what you really need to look for to watch out for red flags, but to also look for in green flags. Okay. So to sum this up, more than anything, your coach should be paying attention to you, recognizing that your journey is individual to you, that they need to be looking at your lifestyle. They need to be understanding your body. They need to be clear in their communication of what that all really means and how that ties into your customized training plan. If you are on a team with other people and you all are on the same amount of food and you all have the same training plan, and you know that is a big red flag. So make sure that if you're paying a coach a substantial amount of money to be able to be invested in you, that they are showcasing that they're invested in you with the details that we've provided here. Is there anything else that you'd like to add in, Brie?
No, nothing else. I feel like we summed up a lot of valid points, and hopefully, everybody who tuned in found this episode helpful. And if they
Absolutely.
find themselves needing coaches that are going to be their best friends in their corner, giving them the truth about bodybuilding, they already know where to find us.
Absolutely. So do you want to just drop your Instagram for anybody who's new on this episode?
Yes, everybody who would like to connect with me, they can find me on Instagram and YouTube at Brianna_Koleva_wellness.
Love it. So make sure you guys go and check out her journey. It is absolutely mind-blowing. She provides such good inspiration. And you guys know that you can go and check me out at authentically.fit. And we will be here to answer any questions that you guys might have, or if you even just want to talk to us about some of the experiences that you've had, if you have questions about, even coaching experiences that you've had, and maybe you're not feeling in a good spot just yet to hire a coach because you've been burned in the past, I can promise you that we're open books and we would be able to clear any of those concerns that you have and really reestablish that trust and the reason as to why it's important to have a coach on this journey. So I just want to thank you guys for tuning into this episode. I hope you got a lot of value, and I will catch you on the next one.
And that's another honest episode drop. Thank you for tuning into Naked in Truth, where we come together each week to own our potential and level up our lives with intention. Don't forget to head over to my Instagram page at authentically.fit, where you will find more inspiration on how I can transform your life and make health simple. And reviews are so important for building a community of like-minded people. So if you enjoy this podcast, please take 2 seconds out of your day to leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify so more people like you can learn how to own their potential too. If you love this episode, make sure to share it with someone who needs it. Thank you so much again for tuning into Naked in Truth. And remember, love always wins.